Um, Welcome to instalment number 1 of Brooks's lockdown learning, or whatever we're going to call it today. It feels really, really weird not seeing you all. It feels very strange. It's my assistant. No, there, cat. um, it feels very strange, kind of going through this text without having the one-to-one interaction. So bear with me. If this is helpful, then I'll happily keep doing it. If it's not, then we won't do it again. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today was Bosola. I've sent you an essay about how important Bosola's character is, or how interesting Bosola's character is. And I've uploaded the PowerPoint. I'm going to do a video talking through that PowerPoint in a minute, but I'll upload them as 2 separate videos. What I wanted to talk to you about is where in the text you can get your information about Bosola. So, the first section of the text, if we have a look properly, is Act 2, Scene 1. So we go straight from whether the spirit of greatness or of woman roam most in her I know not, but it shows a fearful madness, I owe her much of pity. And immediately we end up in this discussion between Bosola and Castruccio, and then Bosola and the old lady. And here, the way that Bosola speaks to the old lady is hilarious. You've got mockery-like. There was a lady in France that, having had the smallpox, flayed the skin off her face to make it more level, whereas before she looked like a nutmeg grater, after she resembled an abortive hedgehog. Some of the things that he says about women are, A, funny, but B, deeply misogynistic. But then, you see, by the time we get to this page, okay, so in my copy it's page 34, and I think in yours it's probably about 35, 36. His speech that begins, one would suspect it for a shop of witchcraft, to find in it the fat of serpents. That's all about women, about the way that women are able to deceive people through appearance. And we remember that kind of thing from Hamlet, that whole God has given you one face and you make yourself another. And that's that early modern fear about, not fear, but early modern suspicion about things like cosmetics and makeup, that men can be tricked by women because they can manipulate the way that they appear. And you see that as well in the play with the appearance of the Duchess. She's managed to conceal a pregnancy through her clothing. So there is that kind of concern about women being able to trick men. But then, if you notice, again, I'm going to attempt this. If you notice halfway down the page, we move from prose here, remember prose that runs all the way to the end of the line, and into verse, okay? With that line, observe my meditation now. So this is Bosola talking about not just how he feels about women, but about mankind as a whole. And this speech here on page 34 is really at the core of his position as the malcontent. What thing is in this outward form of man to be beloved? And what is it about mankind that is good? Remember, he's the malcontent. He is complicit in the corruption of society, but he can also see it and rail against it. And that's what Antonio says at the beginning, that he rails against the things that he wants. He would be as covetous, bloody lecherous as any man if he had means to be so. So Bosola can see all of the things that he wants within society, but knows that he's been excluded from it. And in this speech here, he talks in detail about this idea of the body being pretty much, pretty repulsive. Says, continually we bear about us a rotten and dead body. We delight to hide it in rich tissue. This idea that our bodies are rotting, they are dead. And he continues with this nihilistic view all the way through the play. We look later and he talks about, you are a box of worm seed. Remember that quotation from the very first lesson? This idea that our bodies are just food for maggots, to go back to Hamlet again. Okay? So here in Act 2, Scene 1, you've got Bosola's kind of core nihilistic view. Alright? So, introducing him as a philosopher. Antonio talks about him in the rest of the scene and says, you would look up to heaven, but I think the devil that rules in the earth stands in your light. And that, again, is another key quotation to think about Bosola. It's this idea that he could be good, but he also wants to be great. He wants preferment, he wants money, and that's why he gets engaged in the acts that he does. Excellent. So he's a plotter. We know that he is core in revealing the Duchess's pregnancy, in finding all of these things out. We skip through Act 2, Scene 2. There's all those bawdy jokes about, a Switzer with a pistol in his great codpiece. Ha ha, the codpiece was the case for it. You know, always got a gun in his codpiece. You know what I mean. So all of these jokes at the Duchess's expense because she's a woman, you know, that misogyny that runs all the way through the play. And then another moment where we talk about Bosola, and thank you, Janie, for emailing me. Was it Janie?